Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to Wellness Wednesday, practicing the pause with Phil. Hope everybody's having a good day so far. I'm still trying to learn some of the buttons and whistles here on technology and all that stuff. So hopefully you can see my screen now. Practicing the pause with Phil. Like I said, I hope everybody's having a good Wednesday. It's beautiful out. The sun shines out, and it's nice. And I'm so glad that you've all decided to tune in to practicing the pause with Phil. And so, how we normally get started is we do practice the pause, and let's do that. Hopefully, as you're tuning in, you're getting settled. You can find a nice, relaxing place to sit, that you're sitting comfortably. Earlier I posted about taking a time out. A lot of times we need to intentionally take a time out to look at our own self-care and to practice self-care and to look after our wellness. It's something that we have to intentionally do. And that's why I've described wellness as a journey. We're either going the opposite way, which is toward illness, or we're going towards wellness, or we're right there in the neutral point. We'll talk about that a little bit as we go along. But I have to intentionally set my gaze and intentionally go after wellness. I have to take that responsibility. I have to be personally accountable to my own wellness, and so a lot of times that does require me of intentionally setting a time to practice wellness. And what's so good is with technology, with these classes and with these discussions, we can do that anywhere. And so, you can always come back to this. But if you have this hour, I hope that you can get settled and that you can take that time out for yourself and that you can practice the pause with me. I'm so glad that you tuned in, that you've decided to look after your own wellness, and you've decided to be here today. And so let's begin, like the name states, practicing the pause. And that is kind of that time out. They go hand in hand there, that taking that time out for self-care to pause, to pause. Oh, how good it is just to pause. Pause. Life can be so hurried. We got so much going on. We can just sit back. We can take that time out for ourselves, despite the distractions. Get away from the distractions and just take that time out and intentionally pause. I'm so glad that you've decided to do that here today. And so, like I said, I hope that you've got a nice, relaxing place, that you've canceled all your distractions. Whether that's, like I said, this is all got to be intentional. You've got to set the phones off if you can. You've got to turn off any TVs or anything that might get your distraction so that you can be here in the present, in the moment, practicing the pause. This is all about self-awareness and mindfulness, and we'll talk about some of these things today. And so, like I said, I hope that you're able to do that. Environment is crucial to our wellness. And so I hope that you've turned off any distractions, that you've settled in, that you've found a relaxing spot, and that you can practice the pause here today. And so sit comfortably. And we're going to do this just for a minute. A minute can go by so quick. Just for a minute, I want you to relax. I want you to sit comfortably. I want you to breathe in deep. Breathe in deeply. And then let it out. I want you to pay close attention to any sensations or sounds you might hear. Just being aware of it. Focus on your breath. Breathe in. Let it out. Take in another slow, deep breath. Imagine the air moving down into your lungs and then back up. In, deep breath, slowly exhale. And while I try to think too, is when I'm breathing in, I want to breathe in good and release the stress. Breathe in goodness. Let go of the stress, anxiety, anything that might be weighing on you. Take another deep breath in, hold it for a moment, and then release it. And I hope that you found that it brings you a sense of calm by doing this. This is a breathing technique. It's part of mindfulness and wellness. I hope that you found that this breathing exercise creates a sense of calm for you and that it helps to clear your mind. And so what I've said in the past, these past couple talks, is that I want this to be practical. I don't want it just to be giving out information, but I want these things to be tools that we can use. So if you're in a stressful place, if you're got some anxiety, if you found that some of these techniques help, some of these tools help for you to implement them into your life, that you recall them and then practice them. That's why it's called practicing the pause. We have to practice these tools. We'll find that they'll help us as we go along in life. Now, the practice of mindfulness is simply being aware of what is happening right now. And so how I started was I want us to be in the present moment. I don't want those distractions, which are easy to come up, to interfere with what we're doing right here and now in the present moment. In the present moment. This is a practice of mindfulness. We learned a couple classes ago that there's 7 things that mindful people do differently. 7 things. One is that they approach everyday things with curiosity and savor them. And so what's cool is as I've been learning, about wellness, I began to see some aspects of my life change just by learning, by being curious. And I've had to do a lot of reading. I've ordered a lot of books and really learned about wellness. What does wellness mean? And looked at the history of it, and that's what I'm going to be sharing with some of you, those who are here, about wellness, and hopefully some of those will join us in the future. Continue to learn wellness, and I hope that you stick around. I've got some important things to share with you today. The importance of wellness. It's really good. Another thing that mindful people do is that they forgive mistakes, big or small. I hope that you've been seeing that you're being more forgiving. You're showing more people grace, show gratitude. It's something that mindful people do. They practice compassion and nurture connections. They make peace with imperfection inside and out. They embrace vulnerability by trusting others. Maybe you find yourself being more trusting and more vulnerable with others, and that you're okay with that. And mindful people accept and appreciate that things come and go. Maybe you're not as wound up as you were before you started this class. Maybe you're able to appreciate that things come and go. And so wellness is really about growing, becoming the person who we want to be. And we've talked about that before. Just as a review here, I just want to kind of show what this class is about. Maybe you're just tuning in for the first time, and you're saying, "Man, what is this class all about here? What is wellness, and what do we do here?" Well, this is just an intro to wellness. We've started at the very beginning, and I hope that I've done a good job doing that, and that you're able to kind of figure out a little bit more about wellness. We've talked that it's bigger than just your health. So many times we might think of wellness as just a physical diet and exercise, but wellness is so much more. And this is a journey. And so I hope that you will continue to tune in, because this isn't something that you're just going to pick up, one class and say, "Aha, I'm well now." No, wellness is this continuing journey. It's a journey towards wellness, a journey to a healthier you. And that can go with our thinking and our the way we feel, to our even our eating habits and physical. It's so much more than just the physical side. There's a lot to it. This is a holistic aspect. It deals with all of who you are, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. Those different dimensions. We've talked a little bit about that in the past, but we'll continue to look at that as we move forward. So it's an intro to wellness, a journey to a healthier you. I've began with this mindfulness tool of practicing the pause. I think it's so good to do, especially if maybe you're nervous. You ever been in those tense situations? Maybe like teaching a class, and you just kind of feel rattled. Well, this mindful exercise about breathing can help settle you down, can help calm your nerves. And I'm one who who suffers with anxiety. I definitely know it's something that I've had to practice. That's why it is practicing the pause. It's practicing these tools. And so for this first couple series, this first series I've titled "Journey to a Healthier You" because it is a journey, and the goal is to educate us, to educate our audience, those who are tuning in, about these 8 dimensions of wellness. And we've talked about that some in the past. Those who've tuned in about the physical wellness, that's one of the dimensions. Social wellness, emotional wellness, occupational wellness, financial wellness, and there's 8 of them. And here at the Recovery Center, that's kind of our staple. That's what we were supposed to go on is this complete, holistic view of a person, and we try to help a person out in each of those dimensions. And so this series is to educate us about those 8 dimensions, and then to enhance our own personal sense of wellness. And so, like I said, I want this to be practical. I want the tools and things that we have to have really a profound effect about how we live out our lives. And so this series will focus on one dimension each month. Right now, we've just been kind of going through the information. We've been defining what wellness is, really trying to have a good understanding about wellness. But as we go along, we'll look at one dimension each month, and I hope maybe even to bring in some folks who are doing a really well job of maybe it's physical, maybe maybe I thought about maybe bringing in somebody who does yoga, who might be able to talk a little bit more about that, or maybe some financial assistance. Different people that I think we could bring in to be able to talk about some of these aspects of wellness, who could provide tips and strategies that we can apply to our own lives. So that's kind of what this goal of this course involves. And in the past, we talked about some of the 7 secrets of personal development. I just ordered some Dale Carnegie books, and that can help with my own personal growth. He talks about public speaking. There might be different things that we all personally want to get better at. And so we saw last time how personal development, how we're growing as a person, really is in line with what wellness is about, partially. And so we talked a little bit about that last time. And if you've missed some of these, you can go to our YouTube page and you can look at what we've talked about in the past. They're all up there. They're all uploaded, that you can check those out, because as we move along, I don't want anybody to be left behind. I've tried to, kind of review some of these, but I might not be able to do that each time. And so if you have a chance, you can go back and listen to those at your own time. But we talked about Dale Carnegie last time, and personal development. And we kind of concluded with this idea: is are we living well? What does that mean to us, living well? He said that most of the important things in the world have been accomplished by people who have kept on trying. And I don't want to see this as trying to be strenuous or disciplined, like wow, I really need to get an exercise, and you just go all out. You order a bunch of gym equipment, and then it ended up getting dust on it because you're not really using it. You stop using it, and then you sell it. And we start small. Wellness is a journey towards wellness. It's a little small step at a time, and that might look like just maybe going for a walk. Hey, that's something that we could do. They recommend, you probably heard, maybe exercise 3 times a week. I've heard that it's better to do it 20 minutes a day. 20 minutes a day. That's 1/70th. I think I read of your day. 20 minutes. Do you have 20 minutes? And just start small. A little walk here and there. I believe you'll feel better if you do. 20 minutes a day is what I've read that they recommend. Are you living well? Are you living well? And we'll take a look at that. What wellness really looks at. All right, for today, I recently watched a documentary called American Tragedy. It just came out, I believe, 2020. It was new. Wonder if maybe if any of y'all have seen it out there. I can't see you, so I can't see if you're raising your hand, but it talks about wellness, and I'd like to talk a little bit about that today, the importance of wellness. And in this regard, you might know that lady there. You might have seen her before, perhaps in the past. She's the mother of one of the Columbine shooters. Her name is Sue Klebold. You might remember that Columbine shooting happened April 20th, 1999. And this is her, and she did this documentary here. They asked her some questions and how she's doing about 20 years later after that tragic incident. She attempts to reconcile how the son she affectionately referred to as Sunshine Boy, her son, became a school shooter. She said if love could have stopped Columbine, she says Columbine would never have happened. You know that 78% of school shooters exhibited a history of suicide attempts or suicidal thought. Depression is real, and the way that some folks think, have difficulty thinking. There's a lot of struggles out there, and here's one of them: suicidal ideation. 78% of school shooters exhibited a history of suicide attempts or suicidal thought. 78%. This might throw you for a surprise here. It did me. In 2013, 4,600 children died by suicide. That's 2013. I haven't looked at the research today about what it is today, but in 2013, there's 4,600 children died by suicide. That's from the National Health Institute of Mental Health. And they say, too, that their statistics about 1 in 5 children will have a severe and debilitating mental disorder by the age of 18. 1 in 5. And so it might not be your child, but it's 5 children in your child's classroom. 1 in 5. 1 in 5 will have a severe, debilitating mental disorder by the age of 18. The U.S. spends more than $3 trillion a year on health care. That's 17% of our GDP. About 95% of that money is spent treating problems, for treatment. There's very little spent on prevention. Prevention is better than treatment. And that's what we really need to look at. And that's what wellness looks at, is prevention. It's not after you have a heart attack, but it's the things you're doing before that can lead to a heart attack. Wellness looks at the whole person. And it looks at prevention. And some things have been done. Like I said, a heart attack, some of the prevention measures, instead of just treatment, of getting more doctors or doing more surgeries, the heart care, the people who are looking for to really tackle this issue about heart disease, began implementing policies and education. For example, they did jump rope for heart. That started in school systems, and had the kids jump rope, and they began looking at healthy diets. And so they focused on health. It wasn't the aftermath of the heart attacks, but it's what you do to prevent heart attacks. We need to do the same thing in mental health. We need to look at prevention. We have to have a bigger vision than just talking about risk factors and warning signs. For example, if every 7th grader learned mindfulness and some aspects of reframing and cognitive behavioral therapy for managing mood in the same way they learned soccer and football and basketball, is that something we should build into a fitness campaign? Maybe we could have a mental health fitness campaign. Starts in schools. We start early. Prevention. We can prevent, hopefully, some of these school shootings. We can prevent some of the suicides. We can help with some of the mental disorders. Is this something that we could do? And I mentioned last time that if you're learning some things, if what you're getting here inside of these courses, some of these talks, some of these discussions that we have is helping you, to please write me. Please write. Maybe you have some ideas. This is going to take a team effort. It's going to take a community effort. Us really making change, getting change, the change that we want to see. It can start with us. It can start with you and me. And so maybe the fitness campaign and some of the schools is the idea that we can have. So really take preventative measures. There's an attempt to do this in Australia. If you do this for 100,000 seventh graders, for instance, what's the long-term impact it could have? I believe that all children need to be educated about good mental health practices and how to maintain them throughout life. But this requires a willingness to embrace social change. Social change. We can all be a part of this social change. To understand the importance of mental fitness, that's what we're looking at here with some of this wellness discussions. The importance of mental fitness. What does it mean to be mentally fit? Sue Claybold, that mother that we see there, the Columbine shooter, I'm sure she wished some things were different for her son. She went and she visited the Dawson School. The Dawson School, I believe, is in Ohio, called the Dawson School. And that's where they're incorporating some mindfulness programs into their educational classrooms. And they even go down to the very young grades, for instance, at a kindergarten level, to teach mindfulness. They do mindfulness K through 12. There are huge benefits to doing it, starting from a very young age. In other areas of our life, we look at prevention, maintenance, like car maintenance. We take our car to get an oil change, or we do an oil change before the engine blows up. So preventive maintenance is an obvious part of every other part of our lives. So it should be part of our mental health. On this documentary I watched, as kindergartners said the Pledge of Allegiance, they sat down and each talked about how they felt. They talked about how they felt, their feelings about the first day of school. Some of the students said they felt scared. And then the teacher said, looked for if anybody else had those feelings, if anybody else can identify. And she asked them to wiggle their thumbs. Wiggle your thumbs, the teacher said, if you agree, if you can agree that you felt that way too about being scared on the first day of school. The teacher talked to the students about ways to help our bodies become calm, about ways to help their bodies become calm, such as sitting skills and breathing skills, like we do when we open up this discussion here each Wednesday about our breathing. One of the students said that one of the tools that he used was called starfish breathing. He took his hands like this, and he made one hand like a starfish. And as he breathed in, he took the other finger and he breathed in. He breathed in as he went down his fingers, and then he breathed out as he went the other way. And this helped to calm him down. This is one of the breathing exercises that he was learning in kindergarten. The starfish breathing. As you go up, breathe in, and as you go down, you breathe it out. He said that deep breaths help him to slow down his thinking when he feels nervous. Another student said what she does is when she has what's called monkey mind. And I think some of us in recovery could identify with that. A lot of times we say a squirrel in the mind when we're having so many thoughts, when we're stuck in our head. She says when you're having monkey mind, she lets the balloons flow out of her head. So she actually has this image of balloons floating out of her head. And she said balloons help to get rid of some of those thoughts you don't need anymore. And the other students just understood when she said monkey mind. They understood what she meant. These are some of the things that they were learning in kindergarten. kindergarten. Mental illness. And I want you to get this too. This is important. Mental illness, things like schizophrenia, bipolar, anxiety, are not directly correlated to violence. Whether or not somebody has mental wellness is. Our public health system and our schools are investing in physical health with things like recess and good, healthy school lunches. But how many schools have mental wellness programs? How many schools do things like mindfulness? Mindfulness is like the equivalent of eating a healthy breakfast. Yet when we talk about making schools mentally healthier and mentally well places for students to be, there's still opposition to that. And in this documentary, they were showing like newspaper articles and showing some folks were against yoga because of religious reasons and some of these other oppositions to having mindfulness in the school. And so there is some opposition, and that's maybe breaking some of the stigma and really showing the importance of mental wellness. And that's one of the things I wanted to show here today is the importance of it. The importance of it. There's still some opposition we might face. And mental health is critical to the foundation of children's brains. I learned in this documentary that the brains of children are constantly, I believe, getting like new neurons, and they're constantly growing. Versus as we as adults, they're not doing that as much anymore, if at all. And so children's brains are at a place where mental wellness by teaching mindfulness can really be beneficial. Oh, it's so important. It's so important. That's what I wanted to get across to everyone who's listening today, the importance of this all, importance about wellness, about what we're doing here. It can make a difference. We learn these things, and we can, if you have children, you can even help your children by the things that you're learning here. This is so important. Social emotional learning, when it's taught in kindergarten, has an impact on several different areas, on future employment, involvement in the juvenile justice system, involvement in the criminal justice system, and future relationships and rates of divorce, and numerous other studies have shown. This mother here in this documentary, she found out afterwards that the number 2 killer of youth is suicide. And she was trying to protect them from all sorts of things, even snake, not getting bit by a snake there where they lived. And she found out the number 2 killer of suicide is number 2 killer of youth is suicide. And yet, it normally doesn't cross a parent's radar to discuss with their kids. She even went to a suicide law survivors meeting afterwards. Suicide law survivors meeting. And that's such a good idea. So many people need certain help. Maybe they've experienced suicide, and they need those talks. They need those meetings, those support groups as well. There's evidence of the effectiveness of preventive interventions. There's evidence of it for virtually every psychological and behavioral problem. There's proof that prevention works. There's tons of evidence on it. Name a problem, depression. We can prevent aggressive social behavior. We can prevent anxiety and lots of other problems. If you look at the data on effective preventive interventions, they don't just prevent just one problem. Things like suicide, substance abuse, truancy, violence, and bullying all have shared risk factors and shared protective factors. And so the belief is, if we do our job well, if we do an upstream strength-based prevention well, we're going to have an impact on suicide, but we're also going to see an impact on substance abuse, truancy, violence, and even grade point average or GPA. You know, students in classrooms, especially those who've experienced some trauma, you know, it's a lot easier to focus on subjects like science when you're not constantly in crisis. You know, that's one of the things that I had trouble with in school was paying attention, and you know, nobody sat down and looked at wellness with me, or even a holistic approach. Their way of dealing with me and trying to treat the problem instead of prevent any problems. The treatment was just give me some medicine. Give me some medicine. That was the way they looked at it. It was this medical approach that we'll be looking at as we go along. And so, you know, it's hard for students in classes if they experience any type of trauma to focus or pay attention. It's easier to focus on subjects when you're not constantly in crisis. That's what wellness, you know, looks at. At its core is a wellness model. We're not just trying to keep people alive, but help people live healthy lives and communities thrive. And so I hope that you have seen the importance of what we're doing here, the importance, and I believe we've got a long way to go. We're just right there at the very beginning stages of looking at some of these things and bringing awareness to it. And you know, what we talked about in the past is creating that environment. And yes, I do have my tea. You know, we talked about tea time with Phil, but it's about creating that environment. And I've shared some of those things that helps me with stress, anxiety. Some of those things helps calm me down, and tea is one of those things. And creating that environment, environmental wellness. But I do hope that you're starting to see some of the importance of wellness, of what we're doing here. And so let's review a little bit here about wellness. We've talked about how health and wellness are different. You know, health is typically thought of in terms of the absence or presence of disease. Often our health is responded to in terms of remedy, such as taking medicine to relieve symptoms. And I just brought that up, you know, about, you know, me being, you know, young in class and not being able to pay attention. And, you know, immediately I was diagnosed and given medicine for it. They just kind of shoved medicine at me. So taking this wellness approach, health and wellness is different. Medicine deals with one dimension, the body. Old self-help ideas dealt with one dimension, typically the mind. Wellness involves an all-inclusive paradigm shift. Its practice encompasses major life areas: the physical, emotional, social, intellectual, occupational, environmental, spiritual. And for those who were here this past time, we looked at a guy named Kevin who wrote down all these different areas, and he left off one area. For those who are here, maybe you might remember which one is left off. You might have said financial. That's right. Physical, emotional, social, intellectual, occupational, environmental, spiritual, and financial. And so wellness is not a piecemeal approach. It involves the total you. And so, you know, as we started this today, I said, I hope that you can be here. You've turned off those distractions. You're still present. You're still engaged. Wellness involves the total you. And so health and wellness is not the same. A traditional medicine finds a problem, a symptom, and treats it. The goal is to neutralize symptoms, to return to a point of no discernible illness. Remember, health is typically thought of in terms of the absence or presence of disease. And so this is the disease model of medicine. Wellness strives for a new standard. And so here, no matter what our state of health, wellness calls for continuing improvement. You see that here on the slide, continuing improvement and self-renewal in all areas of our life. And so, I saw this picture here the other day about recovery. And look what it says. Recovery begins at exactly that moment when you are broken to pieces and must surrender to unfamiliar and uncomfortable ways in order to be rebuilt into who you were meant to be. That's really what wellness is calling for. Continuing self-improvement, self-renewal in all areas of life. And it searches for new levels of excellence. When I began my recovery journey, it began to look a lot different for me. I had to change everything. I had to change my people, places, and things. I had to change what I was doing throughout the day. I had to change the people that I was around. I had to put recovery first. I'd spent drinking and drugging for so long that I really had to take these small steps, and I had to be guided. And wellness looks at the same thing, that we're changing things about our life, and it might cause us to feel unfamiliar with some of the things and uncomfortable in ways that we had built up for so long. And so wellness really searches for these new levels of experience, of excellence, and experiences a new experience for us. So some of those habits, some of those thinking patterns have been ingrained, and we have to look for new habits, and we have to be excited about doing it. There's excitement in learning wellness, about applying what we learn, and recovery has a lot to similarities there with wellness. I think they go hand in hand. Aristotle said, "We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act, but a habit." Not an act, but a habit. Wellness searches for new levels of excellence. Aristotle said, "We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act, but a habit." I was told in my recovery journey to do three things mainly: to quit using, to don't use, pray, and go to meetings, and call my sponsor. And those are four things there: pray, go to meetings, call, sponsor. And those were the primary tools that I had in my toolbox there at the beginning. We talk about tools. We'll be learning wellness tools as we move forward. But in recovery, I had primary tools that I had to begin to use, to continually use as I went in my recovery journey. And as I went in my recovery journey, I began to add more tools. As we start each time here with practicing the pause, we learn that breathing technique. That's one of the tools there. Mindfulness. In recovery, we also learn tools. Aristotle said, "We are what we repeatedly do." So we're developing habits. We're developing new habits. Some say that it takes 90 days to form a new habit. Others have said that it takes 6 months. But I think both are right in agreeing that habits develop over time, continually to do them. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act, but a habit. I was told by my sponsor that he said, "If you want what I have, do what I do." And I had to agree to go to any lengths to get it. To any length. I went to all different kind of lengths to get what I was using. Substances. I went to any length to get it. I remember even going in the snow. Nothing would stop me. Nothing would stop me to go after what I wanted. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence is an art won by training and habituation. We do not act rightly because we have virtue or excellence, but we rather have those because we have acted rightly. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act, but a habit. Not an act, but a habit. Wellness. Wellness seeks more than the absence of illness. It searches for new levels of excellence. Health says, if you see there at the bottom left hand corner, health says exercise so you don't get sick. Wellness says move your body to feel strong. Health says eat food you hate so that you don't get sick. Wellness says give your body the right fuel to have more energy. Health says lack of sleep is a way of life. Wellness says sleep is necessary for me to think clearly and function well. Health says compartmentalize your life. Wellness says all the areas of your life are connected. And so beyond any disease-free neutral point, wellness dedicates its efforts to our total well-being in body, mind, and spirit. The word we use is holistic, and you'll probably hear that word being used more and more as we go along. And as I'm going over some of these things, I'm not trying to overload us with some wellness terms and information. I'm really trying to go slow. I'm trying to break some of these things apart as we go along, break them down, so it'll be a little more easily digestible for us all. I've put my nose in these books, and I've been really trying to break some of these things down so it is easier to understand. And I hope that you're seeing as we go along what wellness really encompasses. And so we use that word holistic. Wellness uses that word holistic a lot. And we look at the total you. The total you, that's mind, body, and spirit. You know, when I was sick, I found out in each of those areas, body, mind, and spirit. My substance use affected all three parts, all of me, my body, my mind, and my spirit. Body, mind, and spirit. That's what's so cool about wellness. It shows us these things, and we begin to work on all of these areas, these dimensions in our recovery. And so to treat my illness, my substance use, my illness, look at illness there. It begins with the letter I. The opposite of illness is wellness. And so I need a holistic approach. That begins with the capital we. And what's so neat is that we can do this thing together. And I hope as we go along, it will be a little more inclusive. I know the beginning parts of these talks and these discussions is informational. I really want us to understand what wellness is before we start having some of these talks, before, maybe some of these groups. I'm not sure how it's going to look here in the future about what it's going to look like. But I want us to have a good understanding of wellness, and that's why I'm so glad that these are going to be shared on YouTube, and that we can look back at them as we go along. Maybe people that haven't been tuning in can go back to them and kind of catch up, hopefully, and really have a good understanding of wellness. I'm not sure where anybody is at. Maybe they know a lot about wellness. Maybe they know just a little bit. I'm not sure. But I hardly knew anything about it before I started studying and doing some of these research. And I really have seen some of the changes that's happened in my life. I seem like I'm a lot more aware of my own personal wellness, that I am taking the time out, that I am practicing the pause and doing some of these things. And I hope that each one of you all have maybe seen some differences and some changes as you've been learning some of this material and information. Wellness really is a perception change. A perception change. My thinking habits needed to change in recovery. Someone has referred to people in 12-step groups as being brainwashed. They're entitled to their own opinion, but I needed my brain washed. I needed a new way of thinking. My old way of thinking wasn't working. It wasn't working. So I needed a new outlook and perspective change, a new perspective on life. Wellness we've talked about before in the past. Wellness is a lifestyle. Look at that wellness paradigm up there at the top left-hand corner. You see how one to the right is going towards wellness, towards a high level wellness. Look at the one on the left. See which way it's going? It's going towards premature death. And so we really have to take this journey towards wellness. Only we can do it. Journey is a journey that you have to take, that I have to take. And I've talked about before in the past, EAT, E-A-T, education, awareness, and tools. Look at there that wellness paradigm: awareness, education, growth. So you see the orders kind of change. But we have to be made aware, and then to be educated, and to grow. We have to grow towards wellness, to look at some of these things and to make choices. Wellness is about making choices. Wellness is a lifestyle. It's a mindset. It's a new way of thinking. And when we learn new things, we can experience called growing pains. Maybe some of y'all experiencing that today. All this information, and you're trying to digest it all. Like I said, I'm really trying to do my best to put it out in small doses for us to learn what wellness is. There's so much, and I'm really trying to put these into manageable doses for us all. And so maybe you're feeling some of these growing pains. You might feel uncomfortable, like we talked about. Aristotle said, "We are what we repeatedly do." So if we can repeatedly learn some of these things, and that's such an important tool to learning is repetition. I try to implement some of that as we go along. This repetition. I don't necessarily do what I think, but I think before I do. It's a choice. It's a choice. It's a choice here to participate. It's a choice here to tune in to Wellness Wednesday. It's a choice to practice a pause and to self-care and to take that time out. It's a choice. And so today, and I hope that you're doing that with me today, you're setting your intentions. One today that we did, we set our intentions on deliberately learning about wellness. We set our intentions today to learn about wellness. That's what's so good too. That's something I had to do early on in recovery, is those little small goals. It could have been to wake up and make my bed, whatever it was, to have those small goals, to have that accomplishment. Yes, I did something productive today. And maybe that's all I could have done that day. One small thing. And so today, we set our intentions to learn about wellness. Today, I will be engaged. Today, I will be involved. Today, I will take personal accountability for my choices. Today, I will intentionally start to work wellness principles into my life. Today, I will take action. Wellness is purposeful. It's our own pursuit to total wellness. This is the wellness pursuit. And so we looked a little bit today at that wellness continuum. We'll look more on that as we go forward. I just want to kind of bring that to our awareness so we can see what it looks like, because we will be using that as we move forward. That's called the wellness continuum, the illness wellness continuum. So you might just want to look over that just one more time. And we've seen that the wellness continuum, it has two directions. The left shows an individual who's moving away from wellness and thus towards premature death. There is a neutral point. You see that there in the middle. And then there's the direction to the right. And I hope that we're all going to be heading that direction towards wellness, where the individual is actively pursuing wellness. That's the pursuit towards high level wellness. And so I think that's a good place to wrap up, and we'll take a look at some more of these things as we move forward. But I just wanted to get us familiar with some of these concepts about wellness, and I really wanted us to focus on the importance of wellness today, and maybe about some social change that we can be a part of. We have to be the change we want to see in the world, and I believe those are some of the changes that we can make. And so, just like last time, if you're learning something, if you're applying, if you're seeing some changes in your life because you're engaged and you're involved in these discussions, that you're intentionally setting time to practice the pause with me, practicing the pause with Phil today. If you're learning some things and you can see some changes in your life, I'd really want to. I'd be interested in learning about those. And so, if you want to, just email me. I'll be really curious to see what some of the changes that you've seen in your life. Maybe it's some of these teas. Maybe you started drinking some teas and you're saying, "Wow, I can really tell a difference in my anxiety." Some of this tension tamer here, some of the tension tamer. Wow, maybe you went to the grocery store and you picked up some of that, and just like it says there, that the root that it uses in it has been used to revitalize and reinforce your chi. I know it's not ki anymore. I've actually learned that it's not ki, it's chi, like inner, get this, inner chi, just like energy, inner chi. Yeah, that won't cost you anything today. That one's free. The body's life-sustaining energy, and we'll be talking about energy as we move forward. But yeah, maybe you've seen some of these changes in your life, and you started implementing some things. Maybe you're walking, or even being more aware about what you're eating. That's how wellness works. That's how it's worked for me. I made aware of some of these things. I started implementing changes, and I feel a lot better for it. I really do. And so, Tension Tamer, any of those tea companies out there, sponsorship, yep, you can send me some free teas. Yep. And so, like I said, if you're finding that you're making some changes, if you're learning some of these things, I'd really like to hear from you. I honestly would, in all seriousness. So maybe you could write me there at the Recovery Center. Perhaps some of these talks and discussions have made you aware of your own wellness, and you'd like to come and sit down with one of our peer supporters. Maybe look at the total you. Say, yeah, there's some changes that you'd like to make. We'd be happy to help with that as well. We are a recovery center. We're focused on wellness. If we can help you with any of that, come by and see us. We're there at 1907 West Park Drive, open from Mondays 9 to 5. So write me. Like I said, I really want to know how you're doing. And thanks for being a part of Practicing the Pause today on this Wellness Wednesday. And hope that you continue to tune in. And maybe if you're catching this at a later time, I want you to know that YouTube does have the other videos and that you can tune and check those out. And be sure to subscribe and like those videos on YouTube. It'd be greatly appreciated. We want to make sure, we'd like to know that we are making an impact on our community. We're here to serve our community, and that's what we enjoy doing. And as we all take this journey together. So I hope you have a good Wellness Wednesday. Go out and enjoy that sunshine if you can. And that's all Practice This Wellness. Be well. Have a good day. Bye-bye.